Here, your wine evangelist. So today I've got a favorite bottle for the people that love pink wine. So we call this pink wine because this is a rosé. You know, pick a bottle of wine. Let's say in a bottle store, in a restaurant.
Today we are at the Wine Nightstand Bar in Maboneng, Johannesburg. We're here to meet Katebe, the wine evangelist, and also the founder and owner of Wine Nightstand Bar. Katebe shares his life journey and also he gives us tips on how to enjoy wine. And this is Street Talk.
Street Talk with Nomstar.
The views and opinions expressed on the show by the guests do not necessarily reflect those of the channel.
Hi, Cats.
Hello. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
We're in Maboneng again, guys. Remember Maboneng, and we are with Cats. Cats, you said what is your full name?
It's Katebe.
Katebe.
Yes.
And your last name?
It's Musonda.
Musonda. Where are you from?
Born and bred in Port Elizabeth,
Yeah.
Gqeberha. So good things come out of Gqeberha.
Yeah.
And I've been here since 2015 in Gauteng.
Wow.
I started a couple of enterprises, worked for different enterprises as well in the space of small business development, and then branched into my business of wine because of my passion.
So there's a passion in wine.
There's a passion in wine, definitely.
Oh. So now from Gqeberha coming all the way to Johannesburg, what was the reason?
So I used to work for Saika and for about 4.5 years as a business mentor. And unfortunately, because of the changes in the BE codes, got retrenched, came to Gauteng, looking for greener pastures. And that's how this whole journey then unfolded. Started from Port Elizabeth, then started looking on doing events, pop-up events here in Gauteng, incorporating different wine farms to come and present their products. And then I would bring a couple of artists to come and perform. And those different establishments would then provide the food, and that's how they would, gain value out of those events. And then value for the wine farms in terms of marketing their products. And then value for Wine Nightstand because we're building a community of people that love wine and, like-minded people, networking, and just finding a spot to chill, relax, unlike your traditional wine tasting events that can be a little bit intimidating, a little bit more traditional. Wine Nightstand is just, a little bit more relaxed.
But someone would say, why wine? Because, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, people would say, why limit yourself into one thing like wine? Why you not say alcohol? Why you not say, why wine?
Why wine? So my journey with falling in love with wine started in 2014. I was going through a very tough period in my life, which was a divorce. And during that time, there was a place nearby, a wine boutique that used to sell wine. So wine was the easiest thing to gravitate towards as someone who started drinking for the first time. And so I used to go to this establishment and they would share a bit of information on wine and the culture around wine, the etiquette around wine, basic things of how to hold a wine glass, how much to pour in a glass. The whole tasting experience just opened up my heart to new love. And so out of a broken heart, I discovered new love in a bottle. Ngiyapuza manje.
I would sit there and start saying, okay, is this a profitable business? Because I know there's a young man sitting there and they're saying to themselves, okay, actually, Nami, I want to sell wine. I want to get into this. Is this just passion?
So it's a combination of two. It being profitable as in a viable business model. Absolutely, it is viable. And we see that because we've got hundreds of farms within the Western Cape and some within the country that are producing wine and have an international market. Because our wines stand, I think, if I stand to be corrected, by number 6 in the world in terms of good wines that are being produced in South Africa. So there's an element of the viability part of it is there, but the passion part of it is understanding the culture, understanding what is wine, you know. And I think we already have a legacy here in South Africa. This is our legacy. And so that passion stems from different places. It stems from a point of understanding the culture, understanding the efficacy of the wine, understanding what wine is. I mean, for example, if you understand that table grapes and wine grapes are 2 different things, that already opens up your eyes to a whole new world. Yeah. So the grapes that you buy from your normal supermarkets are not the same grapes that are grown within the Western Cape. They're called table grapes, and these are called wine grapes, and wine grapes have got their own names. Table grapes have got their own names. So just that little part of information, just that expands your passion just a little bit. And that's what got me to a place of like, I want to learn more about wine, and I want to share what I've learned with people, and that translated into a passion.
I hear so many, like, it's still, are you there, or you are still on a learning journey of wines, and do you get to a point where you say, "Hore, I've learned everything now"?
Well, when it comes to wine, you never learn everything, because to start off, there's thousands of grapes that exist in making wines. Different types of grapes, and different regions that grow the different types of grapes. For example, in the wine industry, we talk about New World wine and Old World wine. You know, New World wine, it's places such as Australia, California, South Africa. Old World wines, it's places like Italy, France, Germany, etc. And they all grow different types of grapes. The only grape that we have in South Africa is what you call the Pinotage. That's one grape that we can say is originally from South Africa. Yeah. Pinotage is the only grape we can call South African because it was discovered in South Africa. It was a mutation of 2 grapes done together, and then out of that came Pinotage.
So what grape and what grape were put together?
I think it's a Pinot Noir and a Sauvignon Blanc.
What? And then now, what do Merlot? Are those grapes?
Those are grapes. Your Merlot is a grape. Your Cabernet Sauvignon is a grape. Your Sauvignon Blanc is a grape. Your Riesling is a grape. Your Pinot Noir, Mourvedre, Cinsault, all of those. Those are the names of the grapes. No. I know a lot of people think that they were just created. No. Yeah.
I learned something new today, and I thought I'm a big wine person, but I've learned something new. So, you know, I hear a lot of things. The reasons why you went for the wine. I heard you saying divorce. How was that? Because, you know, it's thinking about it, like how was your divorce? How did it drive you so much to a new passion?
So I got married really young.
Oh.
I got married at the age of 24.
Yeah, that's young.
Paid my own lobola.
Oh, hey, what? Yeah.
At the age of 24,
Wow.
I had met someone that I really fell in love with, and I met her quite young. I was 22 then. She was a little bit older than me. And we decided we're getting married. We came from a very religious background.
Yeah.
We both met in church, And when we started dating, it was my first experience of dating.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So my first relationship ended up in a breakup, in a divorce. My breakup was a divorce.
So you were a good guy
I was
until
a good
24
guy.
years, where now you date and you marry the girl you dated.
Yeah, married the girl I dated. I made a promise to her and I kept my promise.
Aww, but that's a sweet story though. And then from that love that you guys had, what caused it to get to?
Yeah, I mean, relationships have their own dynamics, you know. And apart from the dynamics that everyone goes through in a relationship,
Yeah.
there's also deeper stuff as well that
Yeah.
that happens. Not to share too much, but there was a lot of difficulties in the marriage that we both felt like we couldn't see the future anymore.
Oh.
And I must say this, a lot of people when they reach that point is because they've tried every resort and it's just...
So you guys have tried everything, you went for counseling.
We went for counseling, we went for prayer, we went for deliverance, we went for...
Yeah.
We tried a whole different options until we like, okay, we perhaps maybe it's best, you know, we separate because we don't see the future anymore.
Sure.
In as much as we still loved each other.
Yeah.
We were in love with each other, but we just couldn't do marriage anymore.
But how is it going through a divorce? Because I see a lot of people, they are shattered. When now you find new love, how the idea of losing that special person and saying good to you know, and then I found love. What was your emotional journey?
I think I like to say to people for a good year, I was alive, but I never existed. I was performing at work, but internally I didn't exist.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably a mixture of trauma and pain and out of that, I was just a guy who went out drinking for the first time and clubbing for the first time.
Yo.
So it was a huge emotional roller coaster.
Yo.
You know, when you get married, somehow you already see the future. You already are planning kids. You're already planning great things. And when that ends, you know, you sort of need to regather yourself and reintroduce yourself to yourself.
Yo.
Yeah. And I think wine came in handy because of that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Wine helped me in a way to, you know, relax through those emotional turmoils that I went through. And through that, because of the education behind it and the culture and everything, it sort of like pulled me into a space where I felt, you know, in as much as I was going through a great loss, which was my marriage, I was also gaining something by introducing people to wine and them getting educated about wine. So
sure. Did you guys have kids?
No, we didn't have kids,
Okay.
fortunately.
Oh,
Unfortunately.
yeah, at least, because you know that also it takes them through another thing. So now, how was your family when both of you said, "Hi, Rishab"? How was your family? Did your family receive it well? Because you're saying that your family didn't receive it well. Yeah, so.
So I mean, it's a painful thing because they also imagined us being a happy couple, you know, kids in the future. Everyone asked, when are you having kids?
Grandchildren. And then now you guys bring this thing.
And then now, after 2 years, 3 years of being married, we're saying we're getting divorced, you know.
That was,
Very painful thing. Both families didn't accept it well, but my family was very supportive.
Okay.
I don't know much about her family because, you know, she asked that, you know, everything be kept private. Let's just have a private divorce.
Yeah,
so that's how we kept it.
Yeah.
There wasn't much involvement.
So manje, divorce, guy comes out too. How was that? No more, baby, are you coming?
That's the tricky thing about being
Yeah.
married and going through separation.
Oh, okay.
And I would say to a lot of people, if you're having marriage problems, don't separate.
Oh,
Try, unless it's detrimental, you know,
Yes.
unless, you know, someone's health or life is at stake.
yes.
You know, those serious situations. But if it's situations that can be fixed,
Yes.
I would recommend stay, get people to support you guys through the journey,
Sure, yeah.
and let them help you navigate yourselves,
Yeah.
you know, to greener pastures within the marriage.
Yeah.
Because the hard thing about being
on.
separation. So, so when you separate, when you decide to go on a separation while
Yeah.
still married,
Yeah.
chances of you getting back together are very slim, because in that moment you are somehow trying to heal from the situations that are happening within the marriage,
Okay.
and then you start rediscovering a new self.
Oh.
For example,
Oh.
I started clubbing for the first time because, you know,
Yeah.
what do I do?
Yeah. I'm thinking, oh.
What do I
yes,
do after
yes.
work? I'm not picking up my wife anymore.
Yeah.
We're not spending time together. It's
Yeah.
myself. I hadn't been close with my friends for a long time because I've been married and I was focusing on the marriage and
Yeah.
focusing on being married.
Yeah.
That when you separate, you literally
allow
find a new
everything.
life. Now to go back to curfew and being accountable,
Yes.
very tough. So it's
So-
really hard to navigate yourselves back to that
So
point.
the gates were open now.
The gates were open, the throats were open.
So guys, now I think people must know this, because you say something very important, and a lot of relationships they don't do that. You'd find that the woman, when she's angry, she packs, she goes. Or when the guy, like, but separation is not, so it's not key.
Separation for me is not advisable.
Yeah.
Only in circumstances where life-threatening, yes. Detrimental to your
Yeah.
health, yes. But if you can fix it, if you can remedy, fix the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't
Sure.
break the bridge, because coming
Yeah.
back.
You're
is
not grabbing
easy.
back. How can you chase the dog out of the gate? You'll never catch it back.
And those little separations, even
Yeah.
though some make those little that's almost like practice for divorce, for me in a sense. Because you start, every time you pack your bags, you leave, and you come back. Remember, psychologically, everyone is now sort of prepared by, uzopakisha impahla zakhe ahambe. You know, she's going to pack her bags and go. Or I am going to book a hotel, you know, for a week. So what's going to stop me one day to just permanently make the decision?
And say, don't come back then.
I'm not coming back, or don't come back, you know. So, and I mean, marriage for me and my ex-wife, it was more purpose-driven. It was about the mission in our lives that we believed in. We loved each other, but it was also the mission that we felt that we are called for people. And so all of that was just gone. So for me, for us, it was a great loss.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Sure.
Till today, it's a great loss.
I can imagine you miss her, ne?
She'll always be my friend.
So now, wine bar. Let's come to this wine bar. Why should people come to the wine bar, not drink wine, go to restaurants? Why can't we, you know, there's a lot of places you can drink wine. Why would you say to someone, wine bar, if you love wine, come to the wine bar? Why?
So one thing that I love and I learned about wine is quality.
Oh,
Okay. So there are producers who don't really produce for quality.
Okay.
They produce for commercial purposes. So you'd find those wines in a lot of commercial spaces, on shelves, etc. You know, for example, on the bottom shelf, you'll find all the cheap wines.
yeah, yes.
On the middle shelf, you find your average sort of range wines. At
Yeah.
the top of the shelf, you find the top range of your wines. Apart from that, just being a commercial space, there's estate wines. Or wine farms that grow their own grapes, make their own wines, and they focus a lot on quality. And we generally refer that to boutique wines. You know, they only produce a certain number of bottles per annum. You know, they don't go as far as commercial spaces. And so, what's special about Wine Night Stand is that we identify with quality. Okay. So, for example, you don't get a hangover from our wines.
What?
Because number one, we teach you how to enjoy it. Number two, we educate you about the product that you're drinking. We educate you about the grapes, you know, which we call cultivar. We educate you about the age that's in the bottle, which we call the vintage. We educate you about the producer of the wine, which is we call a vintner. And so you get familiar with all of those things. By the time you leave Wine Night Stand and you want to buy a bottle of wine, you're actually trying to get something of quality that you would get at a Wine Night Stand bar. So we focus a lot on quality. We try and focus a lot on bringing on board boutique wines as opposed to your commercial wines. So most of the wines that you would find at the bar aren't wines that you would find at most restaurants. And we pride ourselves as a wine bar because we're the only wine bar in Maboneng, in the CBD, in the whole city center. There is no other wine bar that you can find.
I'm loving everything you're saying. Right? Oh, Guys, so are you gonna take us through the wine tasting and tell us how to enjoy this wine? Because I know people are sitting there, they're thinking, why is she shaking her glass? Guys, we're smelling it.
So let me just add a little bit more for you so that you can be able to, you know, you don't need a lot for the tasting of the wine. The tasting experience of wine is all about understanding who the wine producer is, what grape is it, how is it profiled, and how do you relate to it yourself in terms of how you taste it. Also importantly, like I mentioned, vintage. Vintage is also quite an important thing because it relates to the year the grapes were harvested, but most importantly, also relates to the weather condition in that particular year. So for example, if these grapes were harvested in 2022, and in 2022 there was a heat wave or the weather condition was just, you know, humid or hot, whatever the case may be, that translates in the type of grapes that are grown in that region. And from that translates into the juice, translates into the wine that you are basically drinking when you open the bottle at home. So vintage is very important. You could have the same cultivar, but two different vintages tasting different. So a Cabernet Sauvignon can be harvested in, let's say, the Western Cape region, let's say Stellenbosch, in 2022, and the other is harvested in 2023. Those are two different vintages, different weather conditions, different types, quality of grapes, and most importantly, again, also the vintner, the wine producer, who's producing this wine, and in what is their focus area. Is it commercial, or is it good quality? Do they grow their own grapes? All of those things matter. All of those things matter. So, but to start from the beginning, most important thing is how to open wine. So there's only two right ways in how to open wine, and the rest is incorrect. Okay, so the best way for me to explain it is these three fingers. I call them the joy fingers. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you're about it. These three joy fingers by the stem of the glass, and you just fold like that. Okay. The other way is you create a gun or U7. You bring the base of the glass at the bottom, fold over your thumb, create a fist. Okay?
Oh.
All right. Yeah. So those are the only two right ways of how to hold a wine glass.
I feel like it wants to fall. Okay. So it's not tight.
So when it goes right at the end of your thumb, it feels more comfortable, and that fist gives you some form of a grip over the glass, and you feel a lot more confident to hold it like this. Okay? So also what's more important is that the glass, you know, there's glasses these days that don't have a stem. We call those stemless glasses.
Okay.
Glasses that have
Hold
a
on,
stem.
Hold on. I actually want them to see.
So glasses, so the glass
Okay.
with a stem has got, you can easily hold your wine glass like this, or like I explained, like that.
Yes.
The other practical part of having a glass with a stem is that you want to aerate the wine when you start with the tasting. Okay, it's that whole thing you see people doing,
Yes.
stirring the glass, or what you
Yes.
said, shaking the glass.
What do you call it?
You're swirling the glass.
Swirling the glass.
Swirl.
So when you swirl it like this, what's the reason again?
So what happens is that alcohol evaporates,
Okay.
oxygen goes in, alcohol evaporates, and when it evaporates, it would leave the drippings in a glass.
Yes.
Okay, so those drippings in the glass are called the legs of the wine.
Okay.
And the legs of the wine may give you 3 indications just by looking at the legs. And it's based on what we call viscosity. Okay, so in simple terms, how fast do those legs draw back to the bottom of the glass?
How fast they draw back. So, okay.
Okay, so if, let's say, those legs are very dense, almost like syrupy type,
Yes.
that may indicate that the wine has been well aged for drinking.
Okay.
It may also indicate high alcohol, and may also indicate good quality wine.
Oh, so it must be dripping.
It must be, that's it. It must be
wine.
dripping. Absolutely. So
Okay.
when in other parts of the world, for example, with red wine, they would say, they would put a law, and they would say they need to age the wine for at least 2 years before releasing it for consumption.
What? Okay.
In South Africa, I don't think we don't have such a law.
Yes.
However, I think we all have a standard of what good drinkable wine should taste like.
Okay.
And so it's prepared in that manner. So I was talking about the glass again, and we're just going back a little bit. One of the most important things why we don't hold a wine glass like this is because your hands are warm. As long as you're alive, your hands are warm.
Oh.
And when your hands are warm, it changes the temperature of the wine. When it changes the temperature of the wine, it may change how it smells on your nose. We call it the nose or the bouquet of the wine.
Hey.
And it may change in how it tastes on your palate, which we call the palate of the wine. And the reason why we don't want that to change is because we want consistency within the profile of that wine, so that you can pick up you can pick up what's
The
how
correct taste and the correct smell. Because once you hold it like this, you mean like you'll then start affecting the temperature, the taste.
Exactly.
But within a short time, you can do that. You can affect your wine by holding
Absolutely.
it like
10 to 20 seconds, as your hand is warm, it
Yeah.
warms up the wine. And with red wine, it needs to be served under room temperature. But again, room temperature is another conversation for another day. Never serve it in ice. Never.
Never. Please.
Unless it's a really terrible bottle and you want to numb everything that is in that bottle so that it can be drinkable.
Yeah.
But the most important thing about wine is for you to understand what is it that you're drinking. And if your red wine is super chilled, you won't be able to get those notes. You won't be able to get the profile of the wine. And extra with red wine, once you've opened it, it's usually better to just let it breathe just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of oxygen. Enough oxygen is good for the red wine. As you drink it throughout the night, it'll just taste better and better and better.
So it's best you leave it to breathe the whole night.
You can close it at some point, because too much oxygen again damages the wine. We call that oxidated wine. And then it just becomes, it'll smell like wet cardboard when it's oxidated, and it's gonna taste like vinegar, and you don't want to drink such wine.
I've tasted that before. Oh my God. So now I know. Now, you've taken me through the whole process, but I've not seen how we sip it.
Okay,
How do you
so
sip?
let's get there. So you swirl it, okay?
Swirl.
Oxygen comes in, alcohol evaporates, we've checked the legs of the wine. The next thing you want to see is you want to look at the color, okay? There's different types of bodies in wine, okay? So there's your full-bodied wine, there's your medium, and there's your light.
Okay.
Full-bodied would be grapes such as your Cabernet Sauvignon, your Pinotage, your Merlots, your Syrah or Shiraz. Those are full-bodied wines. And how do you tell if it's a full-bodied wine? The color would be dense and dark like this one. Okay.
Okay.
If you put
Yes.
this against something that's white, it's gonna even show. It's gonna show it even better. You'll see the
Oh,
denseness
yeah.
much more.
Okay.
And then if it's a medium-bodied wine, there's also grapes that make medium-bodied types of wine, or blends that the wine producers would make to create a medium-bodied wine.
Okay.
And then there's lastly light-bodied wines. So not every wine that looks light may imply that it's weak. Some
okay.
people think that it's weak or it's it just simply means it's the type of grapes that were used to make that wine. For example, a Cinsault, a grape called a Cinsault, and a Pinot Noir, those two grapes make light-bodied wines, and they make delicious light-bodied wines. Pinot Noir or a Cinsault.
Guys. Yeah.
Yeah, so on the sipping part, so now we've checked the viscosity, we've looked at the color, etc. The next thing is, the first thing you want to do is you want to smell the wine.
Okay.
So the best way to smell the wine is to, because we've got African noses, we don't have any
Yes.
French.
French
Yeah.
nose. Okay.
You just bring it close to your nose like this. You close your eyes and you smell. Okay. So there's two parts to smell. There's the bottom and the top. Say the bottom and the top.
The bottom and the top. The bottom and the top.
The bottom will give you a lot of the alcohol, the smell of alcohol.
Okay.
It will give you a lot of your barrel character smell.
Yeah.
It'll give you a lot of non-fruity characters like minerality, etc. But when you smell at the top, which you just go in like this,
Oh.
you close your eyes so that you can create a mental trigger of what you can remember. Smell from the top. There you pick up fruity characters.
What?
Blackberries,
What?
etc., etc., etc.
Yeah,
So there's
what?
that part. So can you now see where it starts from? You're like, oh, this is a Cabernet Sauvignon. Vintage is
Yeah.
2021 vintage. Now you look at the color. Oh, it's a full-bodied wine.
What?
Okay, I'm drinking a full-bodied wine. Then next you smell. You're picking up notes. Oh, it's been in an oak barrel. Smells like wood. Oh, it's been in an oak barrel. And then you
Yeah.
smell from the top like, oh, I can pick up some fruits that I remember. Strawberry, cherry, blackberry. Wow. You know? And then the next thing you want to do is you want to taste it.
Okay.
But before I go to the tasting, I just want to say, tasting wine or smelling wine is very subjective. Okay, so when they put a description at the back of the bottle, that's just them profiling the bottle in terms of what they can pick up, in terms of the type of cultivar, etc.
Yes.
Okay, but tasting and smelling wine and all of that is a very subjective thing. That's why I say close your eyes, because when you close your eyes, you're able to remember, I smell this and I smell that. You can even go as far as smelling cow dung. Let's say you grew up in a farm and you identify, but this smells like cow dung, you know? And that might relate somehow to minerality, which is the soil, the type of soil that the grapes are grown in. So that type of a thing, okay? And then now you want to confirm what you've smelled in terms of what we call the palate of the wine. So you articulate the nose of the wine by saying, this is what I can remember, this is what I smell, and then now you want to be able to articulate the palate of the wine. And the best way to do it is to do what I call a mouthwash technique.
Okay.
Because your palate, which is your mouth anatomy, is made out of two parts, soft palate and hard palate. But when you taste wine, you're focusing a lot more on the soft palate, which is your joy maker,
Okay.
the tongue.
The tongue.
Yes.
It's a soft palate.
That is your soft palate. Your hard palate would be your gums, your teeth, and everything else that's in your mouth that's hard. Okay? So for us to get a proper expression, again, I do this not because I'm mixing it like juice or whatever. I want to be able to smell it again and to do the mouthwash technique like this.
Mouthwash.
So what you do is you get your mouth introduced to this wine everywhere, okay? And then you pull in a bit of oxygen so that your mouth can also be able to catch all of that.
Oh, mouthwash, guys. Yeah.
So the first taste you had, tasted a bit what you call bitter or sour, okay? That is what we call astringency in the wine. That astringency is basically picked up a lot by the front part of your tongue.
The
front, yeah.
Okay.
The joy
sweet
maker.
part, the joy maker.
Yes. And then I would like you to take your second sip. Now, astringency, before we go to a second sip, is similar to when you make a hot cup of tea with no sugar and you drink it. It tastes bitter, it tastes sour, your mouth dries out. And I'm just going to explain what that drying out of your mouth is. Okay, you probably experienced it.
Yes.
The drying out of your mouth is basically telling you that the wine has got tannins in it. So tannins are the skins of the grape, the seeds of the grape, and some barrel character. So scientifically, what happens in your mouth is that tannins literally scrape out all the protein in your mouth, and your mouth dries out. That's what happens.
Okay.
And tannins are good when you're having your red wine with your steak, because your meat doesn't digest in your stomach, but rather rots in your gut. So it helps you break the fibers of the meat. And so in other words, it helps with the digestion of that.
So it rots.
It rots in your gut. It does not digest.
That is why.
Yeah.
I always thought we can eat meat and then it just opens the stomach, because they'll say, oh, open your stomach so you can eat steak. Oh, so there is a scientific part of it.
There's a scientific part of it as well.
Wow.
So with wines that have got tannins in it, the job of tannins is twofold. One is for preservation, okay? Two, it's for aging. So any wine that has got higher chances of tannins in it means you can age it for a little bit longer.
Oh, that's good though.
Okay, so aging wine just refines the wine. You know, have you ever heard about aging like good wine?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, like us.
So it just becomes more refined with the tannins. And then later on, I'll touch on something we call acidity, which also does preservation as well in terms of the wine not being easily damaged by the oxygen. Because remember I said too much oxygen damages the wine. So yeah, so it's with that. I'd like you to take your second sip. I want you to experience some magic.
Yeah.
Just a normal sip. So on your second sip, you actually pick up that there is less astringency. It's a little bit more drinkable. It's like, oh, it's not. It's soft. Exactly. The middle part of your palate does that job. 80% of the alcohol that you drink is absorbed by the tongue, 20% through your digestive system into your bloodstream.
20%.
20%. The rest, this is like a sponge for alcohol.
Wow.
This is a sponge for alcohol.
Yeah.
That's why when you take a lot of shots, you get drunk quicker.
And your tongue is numb.
And when the traffic officer says blow, they're not looking for the stomach, they're looking for the tongue from the sponge. You know? So you can drink as much and think you can eat as much. It's going to take away the alcohol. You'll be able to blow that thing and nothing's going to show up.
Nothing on your tongue.
It's on your tongue.
So you can actually clean your tongue then. Like mouthwash.
I don't know, people use beef stock. They would carry beef stock and then just chew beef stock, and it covers layers of the tongue. And
beef stock,
because it's so thick and it's salty, covers the layers of your tongue. So when you actually blow that thing, it doesn't pick up the alcohol.
Beef stock.
But
I'm
do
buying beef stock.
Do not hold me up to that. If beef stock prices go up, it won't be my problem.
Beef stock in my car. I'm like,
Yeah, and you
Wow.
can't sue me for that. If you get arrested, you can't sue me. Can't hold
And I'm
me
like,
to it.
you said this stuff is working. Because they'll like blow. And I'm like, yeah, let me blow. Yeah, you can't stop me. When I blow, it's like, beep, 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 beep. I have to find you. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So that's on your second sip. It's easy to drink. On your third sip, there's more magic.
Yeah. Let's go.
On your third sip, you actually pick up on the finish of the wine. So on the finish, it should be at the back of your throat. Okay, it's that lasting, lingering taste that's on your finish, and how you articulate it is basically how it tastes in your mouth. So if the long-lasting finish is sweet, you'd be like, the finish on the wine is sweet. It's got a sweet finish, or a savory finish to it, or a sour finish, or a bitter finish to it. You know, that is the work of tasting the wine. Yeah, it's that whole experience.
What? Don't say I don't plug you guys. This is magic, you know. I really like. I'm a wine person, but I have not gone to this depth. And I've gone to people and I've gone to places where we did wine tasting, but we did not go to this depth. It's so educational. Like now I'll drink wine with a smile and like, why are you smiling? And I'm like,
you know, the palate of this wine.
Yeah.
What makes Wine Night Stand again? Our motto is smile behind every glass. And that goes a long way. People go through a lot in a day.
Yes.
And you know, when you get home, you want to pour yourself a glass of wine, but you don't want to just drink anything.
Yes.
Yeah? So you want to know your vintage, you want to know your cultivar, you want to know who your vintner is, and you want to have a nice glass, like a tulip-shaped type of a glass, with a nice pressed stem, you know, so that clean. And it's important because with this type of glass, you get a proper delivery of the wine in your mouth. You get a proper expression in terms of the nose of the wine, and that experience alone helps you to enjoy the bottle of wine.
Cheers.
Yes.
Do we do it at the bottom or the top, or just
We do it in the bum area, so the bums touch each other, and it creates that.
Cheers. Guys, you know what? Thank you for allowing us to come to this space. It's such an amazing story, and you know, I'm happy I'm here.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, kids. You do that twing. Is the bell? So thank you. And you did say can you say again your social media pages? And for those people who want to come for the wine tasting especially.
So we do corporate wine tastings.
Okay.
Incorporated as well into like team building.
Yes.
You know, for example, a team can choose a different cultivar, and they can all present each cultivar. And each cultivar would have a thing about it, and then they'll learn something about it, etc. So we can put together different packages, whether you want to taste 2 wines or 3 wines or 4 wines, etc. And it also works well for big teams and small teams.
Yes.
And those small companies, SMMEs, that think that they don't have enough budget for their staff to do such things, it's really affordable. 4 wines can go up to 160 per person, which is really, that's excluding meal, obviously, which we can make provision for.
Okay.
We do as well as your book launches. If someone wants to do a book launch, it's a nice way.
Yes.
Wine tasting in between the book launch or at the beginning, a whole lot of things that we can offer. And every Friday, starting from now, I'll be doing group tastings for people that want to book for a group tasting. Just a night out, you want to have a different experience before you go and dance.
Yeah.
Have some wine, get ready for the night. By the time you hit the clubs, you're nice and oiled up.
Yeah.
And wine is affordable, by the way. So don't be scared into thinking wine is an expensive drink.
Yeah.
And for men think that wine is only for women. It's for everyone. Wine is a culture drink, and you would love that experience.
Yeah.
So Instagram handle of myself would be _Evangelist. So the Wine Evangelist. And for Wine Night Stand, it's wine_night_stand.
And they all come to you.
And they'll all come to me. And if you want to see Google reviews, we are on Google. You can see the different types of experiences that internationals and locals have had at the wine bar, so that you have an idea of what to expect. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kat. So we're about to close.
Yeah.
And this was a nice experience. Komaboneng, guys. Komaboneng. And this is Street Talk.